Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 2 of phase 2, data management, sales. In this lesson, we'll start to explore the sales tab located on the left-hand side of the QuickBooks online homepage or dashboard. This lesson will be broken out into 2 separate videos so that you can easily keep track of what you've learned. In this lesson, you'll learn about products and services section and how to create products and service accounts in QuickBooks Online. If you don't know exactly what accounts you'll use in your business, that's okay. We'll start with creating just a couple of simple accounts first so that you can get a feel for the process you'll use to create those accounts. I created a worksheet that you can use alongside this training. Please download it before you start the lesson. After watching this video, you'll know how to create products and service accounts, what to include, and why each is so important. Watch the video, use the handout, and share your experience in the course Facebook group. For this lesson, I would highly recommend following along in your own accounting file. Remember, you can pause, rewind, rewatch anything that you need to review. Here I am in the file for Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. For today's lesson, we'll be looking at the Sales tab located in the menu bar on the left-hand side of the screen. Please go ahead and click on it now. This opens up a section that contains 4 tabs that can be seen across the top here. We're going to be focusing on the Products and Services tab. As you can see, this company already has a lot of product services already added to their list. So if you look here, and it tells you a little bit about each thing. So you got the name. In this case, they're using a category. So this is a design here is under the category design. Fountains, you have different kinds of fountains. Landscaping, they have different kinds of landscaping. For their inventory items, they have a SKU number here. For their type, it tells them what kind of type they've set up. And then the sales description and your sales price. The reason that the sales price is useful when you set that up, if this is always $75, then that will come up when you're doing your sales forms. So it's really helpful. The cost of your item, whether or not it's taxable, your quantity on hand for your inventory items, and if you've set a reorder point because you want it to remind you when you're getting low, that number would be here as well. We're going to go ahead and click on Edit here next to Design. And that's going to open up the settings that were first set up when this item was created. In order to use your sales and expense forms, you have to have at least one item created. So you should come in here, even if you're just a service, just service-based, you just have your one service, you come in here and set it up. And that way, when you're doing your sales and expense forms, you have something to put on there as you're going along. Otherwise, it doesn't because QuickBooks is doing double-sided accounting, it's not going to let you just type your income or expense account into a sales or expense form. So make sure you have your item set up. There are 4 different types of items that you can create. And if I click change type here, you can see 3 of them. In this case, they've chose service as the item. Go back into edit. Now, the name is what makes sense to you. This doesn't always show up on your sales and expense report. So this is something that's more of an in-house thing, what you're going to call it. So that's what they've done here. If they had inventory items, they would have added a SKU and possibly a picture of the item. You can organize your products and services list by category, which I kind of showed you over here. They have design, fountains, landscaping. And you can see it from the drop-down list here as well. And you can set a custom price for items that have a standard price. So that was kind of a nice thing we saw here. So once you've set this up, you can come down to this section. Now this part is what's going to show up on your sales forms. So you do want to make sure that whatever you're writing in here in this section is what you want your client to see. And then the sales information section, you can see that in this, for this company, because they're only a service type, they just check the box next to sales information, and that's telling QuickBooks that you're going to sell this to your customers. It lets you customize what's written in this box here. It lets you set your custom sales rate here, and also your income account. Now you can see that when we set up the chart of accounts, that was something that was really important so that we can do this next step, which is adding your items. So you would just go in here and, if it was something, well, they didn't have more than one. Let's see. So they have landscaping income as well. So if this was one of their landscaping services, they're going to use this as their income account rather than the design income account. So having your chart of accounts set up like we did in the last lesson is really, really important. If it's taxable, you can choose that here. If it's not, just leave that blank. And then I'm going to go ahead and click here so that you can see, because for most of your items, this is exactly what the form is going to look like. So let's just give you a walkthrough. So we're going to pretend that we are also purchasing this item. And if so, we can do just like they did with custom design here. Whatever you put in this box is going to be what shows up when you're sending out, be it, I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to think of a PO. So if you're doing a purchase order, you would put that, anything that you put in this box is going to show up to your vendor when they get it. And then you can set a custom cost if that's the case. And then this is nice because the cost here will auto-populate when you're doing some of your forms so that you don't have to type it over and over again. Now, if your price changes, then I would just leave it 0, because otherwise you're going to have to change it every single time. So if you have a standard cost, definitely use that. And then again, that chart of accounts is really coming in handy because now you're going to choose the expense account here. So their expense account they're using is the purchases account. I don't want to make any changes here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this little X at the top. If you have your own item list already, you can import it into the file. No, I can't see the top of my page here. It's weird. I'm going to click on this again. I don't know what happened. It scrolled up something. You can go ahead and click Import here. This opens up the Import Wizard. In order to make sure that you're importing the data correctly, you always want to click Download the sample file, and then you're going to save that to your computer. And then what I usually do is I have that open on one screen, and then I have my import file open on the other. And you just want to make sure that your rows have the same names, that you have the same information, so that it's all going to be imported the way that you want it to go. Once your file is ready, you click Browse to find it. You put it in here, click Next, and then you just follow the rest of the settings there. And it does help you, so it's really good. If you want to create your own item, let me close this out. You just click New. And then you can see the 4 different items that we talked about. So inventory, that's when you're buying or selling items and you're tracking the quantity. Your non-inventory items are things like, in their case, nuts and bolts, or things you don't need to track, or you just can't track how many of them. There are items that you use. You can set that up here as just a non-inventory item. That way it's just not tracking the number. Service, which we already set up. And then bundle. Bundle is kind of cool because if you have something that's more than one item or one service needs to be grouped together, you can create one bundle, and then that's what's going to show up on their sales form. Whatever description you put in here will show up, and then you can have more than one item included, and it won't have to list them line by line. So I'm going to close that, go into New again. And I just want to show you that for service, looks just like we saw before. And actually the same thing when you go to non-inventory items, the form is exactly the same way that I showed you. The one that's different, and the one that I would suggest getting help with if you are adding inventory items, unless you're just brand new, starting out, you haven't done any sales, you haven't done anything where you've used inventory items, I would recommend having help because in QuickBooks Online, it's a little bit tricky with the dates that you use. So this button here is really something that you want to pay attention to. So this gives you more information about the as of date. And the reason that this is so important and the reason it gets so tricky is that the way that QuickBooks is handling your information. So if you add your item, say, let's see, their example here is if you add an item to track the quantity on hand as of December 1st, but then you try to use it on an invoice from November 30th, it will not let you save it. And it is, I don't know, to me, it's like a nightmare to have that information. Because a lot of times I'm using, I'm working in someone's file. I'm filling in information from past. So for me, this feature in QuickBooks Online is a little hokey. So there are workarounds, there are add-ons that you can get. But if you have a really simple inventory, you don't need to, as long as you're paying close attention to these dates. So I would definitely recommend this for somebody who is really on top of their business. If it's something where you're having to go back a lot and enter a lot of back data, this might get messed up for you. So I would say have someone help you. Excuse me. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody, but I would get a little bit of help with this just so that you're not having the frustration of you set up your item, now you can't use it because you need to go back and add some invoices from the past. Okay, now that, let's see. Let me see if I want to show you anything else on this page. There is another tab here, the More tab. You can manage your categories here, and you can run reports. So that's really, reports we kind of look at a little bit later, but just to show you, we added a category inside of the item, but you can also add it here. So if you wanted to, like they even have, so they have design and then they have fountains as another category under design. They have landscaping, then they have sprinklers under design, and then they have their pest control category. So you can get a little bit playful in here. I like to do it just because it makes it easier for you if you have to go in and you find something. You don't want all of your services and your inventory and everything all mixed in together. If you're trying to find something quickly, it makes it a lot harder. So that's pretty much the last part of your products and services. Again, this is something that you need to set up if you're going to be using any of the sales forms or expense forms in the account. So now we know how to add product and service accounts and why those are important. I hope this has been helpful to you. Feel free to rewatch this as many times as you want. And the other thing I wanted to remind you is that you can always ask a question in the course Facebook group and we'll help you there. Remember, we are here to support you and give you feedback. So fill out your worksheet as you're going through the lesson and I'll see you in the course group.